Hi everyone, welcome back to the Wellbeing Project. We all really hope that you've been keeping well and safe during these rather unsettling, unusual times. And we hope that with this PowerPoint, you might just have some pointers that will help you, and then we'll have our Zoom call in due course. Derek's video should have given you an idea of what we're hoping to achieve with these sessions, and this PowerPoint is simply to speak you through the ideas that we've got for our particular cluster groups. Following this, you'll receive a link and a date and time for a Zoom meeting with some familiar faces where we'll be able to discuss further how to support ourselves and the young people that we care about with transitioning back from the pandemic into a rather new normal. In his video, Derek very clearly outlines the challenges that returning from the COVID-19 pandemic brings for both adults and children, and thoughtfully acknowledges that how we as adults are feeling and the behaviours that we are presenting can affect the experiences of the young people we care dearly for and support within schools. The biggest challenge that I have found through seeing children throughout this time is that it was announced as such that the world wasn't safe to go outside into, so we all stayed home and kept safe. And now we're asking for our young people and ourselves to return to that world that was deemed unsafe. In order to capture the emotional safety, therefore, of our young people and ensure that they feel both emotionally and physically safe during this time, there are some helpful things that we can do. The cycle of influence is the clearest way to outline where factors or variables will be for our young people of all backgrounds, our high achievers, the timid individuals, those that are charismatic, and our SEND children included. The cycle demonstrates, to recap, how our feelings directly affect our behaviours, and these are impacted by the response behaviours receive, which logs as an experience or memory for individuals. To support a child to feel emotionally safe and understood, it is helpful to acknowledge and validate the feelings that they may be having and how these feelings may be affecting them. Exploring some of the feelings that we have had during this time helps us to consider what experiences and feelings the young people we work with may have witnessed or felt or still be feeling themselves. Confusion, anger, loneliness, worry, missing my family and loved ones, being under pressure, having different expectations put on me, anxiety, stress and fear. This then makes me think of how the last few months of feeling this combination of things, how some days were worse than others, and sometimes a huge sudden wave would come over where I felt drowned by overwhelming emotion. I also think about how this made my behaviours change. During this time, I've been snappier, or I might have done things or had weird dreams. There seemed to be that going around a lot on social media, didn't there? Which wouldn't ordinarily be behaviours or things that have happened for me. I'm usually quite mellow or quite chilled. So what I've been doing is thinking about what has helped me to soothe these anxieties during this time, and how I've been mindful of my emotional state, and how we can use this, our mindfulness and our own awareness of our own emotional state, to support the children that we have, including those with special educational needs. It feels important to have a clear outline of what we mean by these feelings. Feelings of confusion, fear, sadness, and being overwhelmed can come under the umbrella of anxiety, and these feelings affecting our behaviours can stem from being anxious. Anxiety is a normal human emotion, and we all feel it from time to time. Anxiety can be experienced in our bodies, which is sometimes referred to as stress, and when we feel anxious or stressed, we may experience tension in our body, feeling sick, shaking, or becoming hot, red, and sweaty. Another component of anxiety are our thoughts, also referred to as our worries. When we are anxious or worried, we may experience thoughts of not feeling able to do something, such as, I won't cope, I can't even do that, I can't try it, or worrying about the future with questions of what if. The third component of anxiety is our behaviour, such as avoidance or excessive reassurance seeking. By this, we mean people who avoid things and won't try them. And excessive reassurance seeking is being or needing somebody to be there with you the whole time, to tell you that you're doing a great job, to egg you on, because you don't have enough resilience in that moment because of your anxiety to kind of motivate yourself. Experiencing anxiety is therefore not a dangerous emotion, but it does feel very unpleasant and can become very overwhelming for the individual. Anxiety does, however, serve an important function and can be very helpful. For example, if somebody didn't worry about the exams that they had, they may not be motivated to revise for them. Or if we weren't anxious about our child's road safety, we may not teach them safe ways to cross the road. Anxiety can, however, become a problem when the perceived danger is not actually dangerous, and we may experience too much anxiety, which can lead us to stop doing things that we need to or want to, such as going to school for children or socialising, seeing friends, anxiety might make them avoid places and activities that they've previously enjoyed. This avoidance and overwhelming anxiety can lead to an individual experiencing further emotions such as sadness, depression or anger because they're missing out or disappointed in themselves. The closures of schools and global pandemic of the coronavirus is a huge factor that undoubtedly has induced anxiety in individuals due to the unknown element of what is happening and not having experienced something like this in our lifetime before. There's been confusion and various approaches to adapting to lockdown or the easing return of some elements and normality. And even for those that don't usually experience anxiety, it has been making them anxious. We therefore must ensure that we're aware not only that our young people may be experiencing varying levels of anxiety on returning to school, but that we too, in varying degrees, may be experiencing anxiety also. Wondering what the expectation of us in school are now and what our job entails due to the hygiene and cleaning expectations and what to do if some of our young people aren't adhering to these social distancing or hygiene regulations are questions that could make us anxious. We've therefore created something specifically for you on our next slide, the wonderful key adults that are asked so much of in our schools, so that you can soothe your anxieties and in turn be emotionally available and as prepared as possible to support our young people transitioning into this new normal. I am sure that many of you have heard of mindfulness before, for example, the mindful colouring that we encourage our young people to do as a calming strategy. But the idea behind mindfulness, if you don't know, is that it grounds the individual and aids them to be in the present moment rather than whizzing around, as so many of us do, from one job to the next. Or when we think that we're relaxing, we're actually mulling over and overthinking or digesting thoughts of the day. Therefore, mindfulness brings your attention to the present moment so that you can feel yourself truly relax and calm and enjoy each moment more, which in time can soothe anxieties circling our brains regularly that prevent us from being in the here and now. There are 5 strategies. They're called simple, but for some of us, these things are going to be quite challenging to do, that I think could be helpful for us as adults to practice a little more. And then rather than children feeding off from our anxiety or concern, they can feed off from our calm, controlled manner and in return feel emotionally safe. The first strategy is about tuning into your breathing. Breathing techniques are a great way to refocus the mind and calm if you're feeling heightened or stressed, but also to practice at the end of a day when you feel that you've had a very busy day. The most effective breathing to do this is a deep breath, as it sends messages to the parasympathetic system, which opposes stress and therefore aids you in relaxing. So, to do mindfulness deep breathing, you can close your eyes and draw 5 deep breaths, and each time something knocks your happiness, you exhale and you blow that away. So when we work with children at the Clifford Centre, we call this chocolate breathing. So the idea is that you breathe in the smell of the chocolate, but that smell might get tangled up in something else. It might be that there is curry lingering from dinner time or a roast dinner. So what you do is you exhale, you blow the other smells away, you blow the other emotions away, and it leaves you feeling rather zen. The second strategy is about breaking the circuit and reconnecting yourself with your mind or your emotional state. So it might be that you are concentrating on doing something, and you might stay concentrated on doing this for quite a long period of time. You might be sat there doing your emails or you're making dinner, and you are doing things kind of that are second nature to you and you're not really thinking about them. And this can mean that you're actually quite disconnected from the moment and your mind starts to trail off. I think that we all do this. I definitely do. So it's to do with breaking the circuit and reconnecting ourselves. So when you're in the middle of an activity, let's say you've been sat doing something with a child for a long time, and it might be that you're just playing a game with them and it's quite a positive experience and you're okay with that. But equally, it might be that you've been sat supporting a child with their learning for quite a long period of time and you're so in the moment that you're not feeling very relaxed without knowing it. So to break the circuit, what you do is you just get up and you might have a wander around with a change of temperature, or it might be that you go and look out the window and you notice a sight, or you notice a smell or a noise, or you have a chat with someone else in the classroom, just to reconnect yourself with being in the moment. It sounds probably, I'm not describing it very well, but if you do want to read a little more on this, the CAMS website is amazing at explaining mindfulness. Okay, the third strategy that I particularly quite enjoy is that when we are focusing on an activity, I had no idea that I did this. We quite often hold our breath for longer than we would if we were having a conversation with someone and breathing normally. And when you hold your breath, it creates tension within the body and can release stress hormone. So this is when I think we all snap and we lose our resilience. And it could be that you've snapped quicker because you've been focusing on it for so long, you've been holding your breath, you've created the stress hormone in your body, and all you need to do is perhaps tune into the breath or break the circuit for a little while and come back to it. I think particularly we're all guilty of doing this if we're watching TV and we don't know that we're tensing up, or if we've been on our phone for quite a long time and, you know, we're all guilty of scrolling through Facebook sometimes and perhaps holding our breath and creating stress, and then a child comes along, mine usually, and all she wants is some help tying her shoelace, but it might be that I, without knowing, have become quite tense, quite stressed, and so I don't respond as I usually would. So if we break the circuit early on and I become attuned to my environment again and am mindful of my emotional state, when she does come over and need help with her shoelace, I'm readily available to help her. Over time, it makes a difference. The fourth strategy is about having a to-do list, and definitely at the moment we don't need to put too much pressure on ourselves about getting things done. So it might be that you have 2 or 3 must-do jobs for the day, and anything additional to that is great. This is probably going to be a good one to do at the weekend when you've been in school all week and probably been feeling quite anxious or stressed or probably exhausted at the end of a day. So at the weekend, don't give yourself too much to do. Just give yourself a couple of jobs that you can tick off. And the last strategy, which I particularly like, is making sure that you mark a halfway mark, either in your day or in an activity. So rather than hone in and focus too long and not be concentrating and, like we say, tensing up and releasing that stress hormone, what we can do is just break up the day with or break up the activity with something. It might just be going for a wander, making yourself a cup of coffee. And what we do find with mindfulness and this particular strategy is that actually what you produce is better because you broke up your time and you were more conscious of what you were doing rather than becoming overloaded or stressed. The transition from lockdown to a new normal is challenging for us all, and as we've said, it can induce a variety of emotion and anxieties about what is to come and the health of ourselves and those we care about. Additional to this, we need to also consider carefully how those with additional needs, a diagnosed special educational need, or those in the vulnerable group and looked after children may require support both preparing for this transition, but also how the support they were currently getting may need to be adapted. I've popped onto this slide some ideas for how this could be in place for SEND children. However, know that you guys are going to come up with such a huge wealth of knowledge and some wonderful ideas, and I look forward to sharing these with you in our Zoom. One of the most successful tools or resources used during transitions is the social story. A social story is a little story created by someone who knows the child and the key information we need to get across to the child very well, and can pop it into creative dialogue with personalised photographs and specific messages that the child can have before the transition occurs, but also be available during the unusual time for reference. Between us, we've all made some of these recently for children returning to our in-reach groups or to schools, and we can attach them in an email for you afterwards if necessary. On the slide, you'll see that there are some key things that are great to include in a social story, such as personalised photographs or naming things that are important to the child and photographing things that are changes that they're going to see. For example, if their individual workspace has moved, or a photograph of the poster that tells you how to wash your hands. A different way of getting this information across, sometimes used or given to those children who feel that they're a bit too mature or streetwise for a social story, is a therapeutic letter, which essentially gives the same information but in a more mature looking manner. So literally writing them a letter, and it might include some photographs, but it's not bounded into a storybook, if that makes sense. Within a social story, you could begin to introduce new language to the child that they're likely to hear a lot. For example, at the moment, this might be social distancing, or keep your distance, or keep your space. There are some clever rhymes that I've heard in different schools recently, or key language that's been used so that children consistently get the same message about these rules. For example, there's a school that calls social distancing being 4 steps away, and this is visual for the child because they can count out their steps. And when it's come to hand washing, some of the schools are saying you wash your hands after each job, or it might be that the child has a specific time in the day that they must wash their hands, for example, every half an hour or every hour. Whatever's most relevant to the child and the setting that you are in is great to include in that social story. And I know that I've seen a particularly lovely one recently where there was a clock with the hour written out throughout the morning that the child will be there, and explaining the expectation will be that the child will wash their hands at hour each time it comes around. To prepare children for the return to school, it could also be a good idea to create additional prompts for their specific areas. This could be a clock face, or having arrows around the classroom, or including hand washing as part of your now and next approach. These tasks seem simple to us, but many SEND children have sensory needs, and washing their hands can be quite a big deal for them. So it is that, now we're playing with the Lego, next we're washing our hands. It makes it very clear that that will be part of their timetable. On top of thinking all of these additional things, please remember the importance that you have in making the child feel safe and secure, just by smiling, by welcoming them, by being there, that face that they haven't seen for so long, and making them feel like you're in control. Even if you haven't got it, or even if you're not sure, making sure that you know what the expectation is from your school. And if this means talking to SLT lots and lots about what that looks like for your setting, then I really urge you to make sure that you're aware of what it is. I know that all of us at the Clifford Centre and at the Keppel Centre have been doing those things so that we're very aware of the risk assessment and what the expectations are of us. You'll be pleased to know that that's the end of hearing my lovely voice over this PowerPoint, which has been very strange talking into my phone. I'm not going to let you know how many edits it's taken by how many people have walked into this room. So if you're in the Eastleigh area, your Zoom link should take you to Lorraine and Jean's lovely waiting faces. Or if you are from the New Forest or South Test Valley, Charlotte and I will be waiting for you, I hope, at the end of this Zoom call. Let's hope so. Really, the meeting is just a really simple way for everyone to catch up, share any thoughts or ideas, discuss the slides in detail if you want to, share any concerns, and ask questions to friendly, familiar faces. Meeting is really used loosely here. It is genuinely just a catch up, like our sessions have been, very low key. Thank you for bearing with my voice, and take care, everybody. Thank you.